Welcome back to Voices on the Hill. I am your host, Corey King, and I'm here with men's soccer, Trindon, Artur, and Declan. Guys, I appreciate you guys coming back or coming onto the show for the first time. I'm excited to have you guys here. How are we doing today?
Good, yeah.
Good,
Excited
yeah.
to be
Good,
excited
yeah.
to talk about some stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
You guys are in spring season. Obviously, this isn't your main season. Fall is when we handle the business. Tell us what the spring season and being in off season is like for a student athlete.
It's a lot of just doing stuff on your own time. We still practice every day. It's still the same like that, but it's obviously not as intense as in season. We have a bit more free time to do whatever we want. Work out a lot more than what we normally do in season, but yeah, it's fun.
So
It's a lot chill.
I always found off season to be a little bit more harder than it is during the regular season. Would you guys say it's the same for you, Declan?
Yeah, it's just hard because in the season you're always training for the next match or anything like that. Where it's hard in the spring, especially because I always found weird coming to America how there's only 5 games that you can play in the spring or 5 game days. So you're practicing for a month until you play your first game.
Yeah.
And you kind of it's the first time you get there, so just trying to get back into it, and then games come around, and then it's nice to get into a rhythm, and it's hard to do that in the spring.
Very hard. And then because they're so spaced out.
Yeah.
They're every couple weeks, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe they are back-to-back week. I mean, you guys are lucky that you guys are able to play competition during the spring. Football, American football, I should say, we don't, for our spring season, we play each other. We do a inter squad, which we call it the spring game. We play each other, and, you're so tired of beating up on the same dudes for, the whole, month and a half that you're on, but I wish that football had an opportunity to go scrimmage, a local school around. Who are your guys' 5 games that you guys played this spring?
Oral Roberts, Tulsa. We played Tulsa Athletics, which is a semi-pro team, and then Oklahoma Wesleyan and Ineo and Coffeyville was a back-to-back that we played. So.
And how do you guys think you guys fared this spring? How are we feeling? Obviously, the fall is fastly approaching. How we looking this year?
Looking very good, actually. Surprisingly good, considering we had so many people leave last year. I think we had 9 seniors.
It wasn't abundant. It was a large
and
group.
Most of them were starters as well.
Yeah.
So we're actually looking surprisingly good.
Well, you guys are all defenders on the back half. Declan, you're the goalie, but for you two being defenders, talking about the kind of the chemistry that you guys have as a group. You guys have were extremely successful. 5 goalies of the week, multiple defenders of the week between you two as well. Talk about how you guys move as a unit and communicate as a unit to be so successful this past season.
I mean, it was interesting because I don't think, at least me and Trindon played more than me obviously before, but we stepped up to first team roles very, very quickly last season. And obviously we had the third defender with us, Mikey. But it was interesting because we jammed together so well and so quick. And we got defenders of the week, and he kept gaining goalkeepers of the week, obviously, because it's just what he does. But we got our defenders of the week so quickly as well that it was natural for us. We just clicked, we just started playing well, we just started feeling it, and translated to the game.
In the fall, you only get a couple weeks before we start games because if that next fall we have 3 days before our first game.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's the 4th day we have a scrimmage.
Yeah, so you don't get much time. So for us to do that in a couple weeks was pretty cool. So he makes it easy on the 3 of us. It's easy to do that because being on campus, talking a lot, all that, it helps. So yeah.
What are those conversations like? When you're talking. Let's say obviously you guys have. Marcus, Vallejo on your team who led, the conference or was a high person and had 12 goals. So, going against a guy like that every day during practice, what do you guys do or communicate about, when you're playing somebody that is known for, scoring goals?
I think firstly you'd say the conversations on the field are different to off the field. Because especially when you're playing, obviously tensions run high a little bit, and you try you try your best every day. And then you'll talk to each other on the field, but it's more so because it's a quick game, you go quickly. It's more like quick, sharp, like do this, do that. Whereas off the field, once everything, like can't, especially like straight after practice, quite often we'll stretch and we'll do all that, and we'll talk about stuff in like the circle and that, like what we should do.
Yeah.
And I think the coaches are real good about talking to us and getting us to talk to each other about our roles and that. So
I think, you guys handled some, top end, competition very, very well. It was just really impressive to see, defense. For us, for football, we always taught defense wins championships, and it was really, prevalent for you guys, this year as well. Obviously, getting into, the conference championship game against Southern Nazarene. Kind of talk about, obviously it's a stinging thing to lose, in the championship game to get to the NCAA tournament. Talk about, that game and that journey to get to that game.
Well, it hurts even more because it was a repeat of last year, so it's pretty much the same feeling again, and of course we didn't want that, but going into the season, that was our goal, was to make it there. It was our goal to win that. It was our goal to make the NCAA tournament. So getting there, we were proud to be able to get there. Not many teams get there. But the journey there was good. I mean, we started out playing really good teams. Our non-conference schedule was one of the hardest probably in America, I'd say. We played a lot of top 25 teams in the country. And that really set us up for conference, which I think we only lost 2 games in conference, which isn't bad. And then getting to the tournament, we felt like we were prepared to set our goals and make our goal, and unfortunately came short again. So luckily me and Deck at least have one more year to try and fix that.
How many years do you have left?
Oh man, still have like 3 if I want to. I'm never leaving here.
I know the feeling. I ended up playing at my school. I think I was there for 6.5 years.
Yeah.
But you get the injury year, you get your redshirt year, then you have the COVID year. So it just makes things real interesting. Talking about your conference, you guys play a blended conference between the GAC and the MIAA. Talk about some strengths and some weaknesses of playing in a blended conference. Obviously, it's due to teams not having a men's soccer team, but you guys are the GAC travels pretty far. So talk about what that's like playing in a blended conference.
Well, we play each team twice. We play home and away, so it's kind of fair between all the teams. I'd say traveling-wise, Hayes is our longest trip, which is like 6 hours. Yeah. But it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's probably one of the most boring drives I've ever done.
And even when we went, the weather was horrible.
The weather's been bad every time we play there. It's always cold because we play them normally later in the season away, so it's always like winter in Kansas almost. So it's
just open, nothing there. Just
open field, wind is blowing.
Cold.
Apart from that, I'd say that's probably the only really bad travel team that we have to play. Most of the other schools are like Arkansas, which isn't too far, Oklahoma, and I think that's it. Really.
Yeah.
Kansas. So travel is not terrible. You as you would think it'd be with 2 different conferences. But yeah, playing them twice, it helps because you learn from your last game. You can watch film on how you did against them, and that helps to prepare yourself for when you play them again.
I think our conference doesn't get as much credit as it should, though.
Yeah,
compared to national rankings, because quite often we'll get snubbed, or like our teams in our conference will get snubbed in terms of national rankings. We've always done quite well, I thought, but that's why having our non-conference schedule is so important. That's why we schedule it so hard, so we can actually properly prove ourselves.
I mean, you guys played, what was it, 3-4 ranked teams?
Yeah, we played.
Yeah.
Pueblo was like 3rd.
Yeah,
Pueblo was 3rd. We played Midwestern, who didn't lose a game.
Like Springs was top 12 at one point, I think, or something like that. It was good teams.
And they're all back to back to back.
Yeah.
Those 3 teams. So it was like 3 top 10, top 12 teams back to back to back. So it helps us because, like Deck said, we'll have a better record than a lot of teams that make the tournament, but based off points, strength of schedule and stuff, we don't get in. So that's why we are starting to schedule the hardest non-conference we can. So it helps.
It does help.
Yeah.
And when you play top tier competition, it molds you. You know, whether you win or lose that game, you know, early in the season doesn't, you know, really dictate what you're going to look like at the end.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's about playing your best game at the end of the season. But when you're able to, you know, play these top teams early on, really, you know, it's all about facing adversity early and being able to overcome it as quickly as possible. Talk about kind of, you know, talking on the same topic of adversity. Talk about like a time, you know, this season where, you know, you guys had to overcome adversity, and what, you know, things do you guys do? Because, you know, you guys are the back half, you know, being that, you know, I want to say the Iron Curtain, but like being able to, you know, kind of start to build that, you know, that trend. It's always interesting to see from, you know, listening in the booth and being a, you know, live broadcaster, everything is built from the back to the front. And the, you know, the higher that you guys can get and push up, the further the offense can get into their zone. So talk about how you guys, you know, stifle adversity and overcome it.
I think Harding was the game that was the biggest kick in the teeth.
That's what I was
Yeah.
Which one?
Harding away. It was towards the end of the season. And it was just.
I think it was just because we were such on a good roll in the beginning and even in the middle, but then it got to a point where the results weren't coming, and then Harding especially was just devastating.
So against Harding, we're typically like on the borderline of making our conference tournament.
Mm.
So they're a team that you technically should beat, but they're always annoying to play. Like they're always a threat, and it was just one of those games where nothing was going away. We couldn't put the ball in the back of the net at all, and then they just got one. They got a goal and then another freak goal, and then.
And I think it was especially because we were talking at a point of like fighting for the in season championship and going as a first seed or even like making nationals straight away.
Yeah.
To a point where are we even making the tournament? The conversation shifted after that game, and we had to find ourselves again and try to get back on track of okay, we know we are going through a tough moment, but let's get back to the final goal and focus on that. And that was probably the hardest
It's always interesting for people who don't, like, especially coming here, the way that you get into the national tournament is always weird to me. It's like, you don't just play and get in. It's like, you can get in without winning the conference if your ranking's high enough.
Interesting.
The point system is, for me at least, it's very weird.
It's very weird. That's why we say we try to get the out-of-conference teams to be as good as you can. Because if you do well against them, they'll get you a certain amount of points or something. Like, a loss against, like, a Midwestern, who are, like, ranked number 2 of that, could honestly be worth more points than a win against, like, a Newman in our conference.
Really?
Which is
I never
a
understood
weird
that.
thing.
We got our most points. Like we tied Midwestern, and that was their only tie or loss their whole year, and they were ranked number 1 pretty much the whole year. We tied them away. I'm pretty sure that got more points than half of our wins.
Yeah,
Because some teams in our conference have like
it's under the 500. Like they're under 500.
They're under 500, so you don't get really many points for like a home win against a bad team compared to tying, which is weird.
Yeah,
you wouldn't think that'd
so
be the case.
So when we were talking about that Harding game, it went from we were in a position where we could get in based on our ranking, and that, but then as soon as we lost that Harding game, it was like that was pretty much over. So you can still get in, but you got to win your conference tournament. Yeah. So you can always fall back on if we're not making it based on ranking, right?
But that is now because before we didn't. There was always an automatic bid after we won the championship, was it?
Yeah, our conference didn't have that. Like when they won it in 2019, they didn't make it because our conference didn't have the automatic bid.
Really?
Yeah. So
not all conference had it at the time.
We won in Fort Hayes went, wasn't it?
Yeah, but that's like they beat Fort Hayes in the championship, and Fort Hayes was the team that got in.
There's a lot of weird things.
Yeah. Really weird. I didn't know that. I mean, because obviously, I'm familiar with football, familiar with basketball and how you get in, because we have the Central Region. Do you guys have? Because you still have Central Region.
Yeah.
And so, what's the point scale like? Do you guys know how many points are which game's worth?
I have no idea.
No idea. It's just coach talks about it, but it sounds like this big, complicated algorithm that you only find out like pretty much the end of the year or something like that.
I mean, you know how many points you'll get, but like it's not like, for me at least, it's like you win, you get 3 points, you draw, you get 1 point. No, it's like you lose and you can get X amount of points, and you win, as you said, and you can get like 10 or something like that. I don't know. It's for me, it's very complicated. I don't understand it. I just let it be and see what.
Okay.
You just go play the games.
Yeah.
You're
just try to get the win, and then we'll see.
See from there, yeah. No, it's really weird. But you asked the question. You talked about how we, after Harding, the adversity that we faced. The day after, I went and played golf.
Yeah.
Coach, I was away at Arkansas, and Coach, he just was like, we can talk about it all we want, but we can't change anything. So the whole team, half the team went to go watch a movie, the other half team went to golf simulators, and it was just completely forgot about it, because normally we would practice the day after an away game, just to like get touches on the ball or loosen the legs and stretch and stuff. But he was like, we're just gonna forget about everything, which I think really helped. Cleared our mind, because we were also defeated really from that result, because it shouldn't have happened, and just to be able to get our mind off of it really helped. Going into the next game, which was a day later, so that helped.
Speaking about coaches and talking about Coach Larkin, what is it like to play for the man that created RSU soccer, both men's and women's? We had the privilege to talk to him in one of our first episodes of Voices on the Hill, but obviously from a player's perspective, what is it like to to be taught by him, and someone that is well respected within the soccer community?
And you'll definitely learn a lot, especially more about yourself, I think, than in the game, especially because for Coach Larkin, when he coaches, it kind of touches my player side. How do I put this? I'm not thinking much about tactics and stuff. I'm talking about the stuff that I can do to help the team and improve the team, and be like little details, and you learn how to search for like perfection in yourself that will help the whole team. And for me, that's the biggest lesson I've taken away, and especially with Coach Jake coming in and adding to that, I think it's a good combination.
Pushes, like his whole saying is attitude and effort. So as long as you've got that, he doesn't really care how he does, as long as you put the attitude and effort in.
Because some days you won't have your touch won't be as good, or you won't, like Marcos won't score as many goals, or we are not going to be able to defend every time. But as long as we're like giving ourselves to the game and willing to die for it, then that's all, the rest will come together.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up how he created it, so obviously with that comes a lot of passion, and he really does give everything he has to the program and to us. So I mean, we try and give as much as he gives. We try to give that back to each and every day, to every game, because we see how much he cares, and that really motivates us for trying to be the best we can.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
I have high respect for him, and obviously he works with the administration office doing facilities as well. So I get to interact with him more than most coaches, but you can feel his energy on how passionate he is about you guys and wanting the best for you guys. Something that we also talked about during our podcast was leadership, and obviously with you guys being one of your last year, kind of stepping into a leadership role. When you have 9 seniors leave, somebody has to step up to the plate and be the leader. I'm curious on what that's been like for you. Have you ever been in a leadership role, and like how do you portray yourself as a leader? It's a loaded question, but take it how you want it. But leadership is a huge something that I've always been passionate about. My parents have always been in administration in schools, and so they've always instilled that in within me. So I've always been curious on how other teams and how other players view leadership, because it's a very important part. It really helps to determine how far your team is going to go.
He makes it easy to step up, because every year we have leadership roles. So we have, like this year we have four groups and each one has a leader. So like this week I'm in charge of equipment. So I have to make sure all the equipment's out for practice, everything's set up right. There's like laundry that you have to be in charge of. There's game day setup. So stepping into a leadership role, you kind of do that as you gradually go up in classes, because you're already every week doing a leadership role with your group. So once you get to like the senior year, or once you're stepping up to a leadership role, you kind of already know what's expected.
Yeah.
So he makes it easy to not not really. What am I trying to say? He makes it easy to like just step into that role.
It's important to mention with those leadership groups. Like last year, he put us as leaders as juniors. And
Yeah,
so,
despite having 7 seniors, he would put the juniors as the leaders of the group, which makes it easier for us, I would say.
I think it comes a bit more naturally as well because, like, you obviously as soon as you get to a new place, especially as international, like you don't really know what's going on, and you talk to like the older boys to see what's happening and all that. And I've found like as I've come in, as new classes have come in, a lot of the younger boys will come and ask you about stuff like how the stuff works. So eventually you just kind of get used to the role of telling people like what you should do, how to interact with other people, like what you do in this situation.
Yeah.
And it just, I suppose it just becomes a bit more natural as you come up with it. But it really kind of hit like this semester because we had all the boys leave last semester, thinking that it's really just us now, and it was a bit weird, but it's been nice actually.
Good. It's a transition role. I mean, I remember playing. As people leave, you're like, okay, like, all right, what role do I have to step into? But I think it's really cool for you guys that he kind of already does that for you, and helps, and he tells the juniors that you can lead the seniors, because sometimes I feel like people forget that leadership isn't about you being the best player. And sometimes your best leaders aren't your best players. Sometimes they're just and sometimes the best leader isn't the person that's the most vocal. You know what I'm saying? It's about leading by example. It's about having an even blend. But Declan, you brought up an interesting point about being an international student, and for two of you guys to be international students, student athletes. Talk about that process of like typical. For us, like we get to visit the place that we're going to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You don't get to that chance. You got to do it virtually. So talk about what that process is like, and then obviously that blend of different cultures and people and having to mesh together and to build a culture. Talk about what that's like too, because that can be very hard.
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about the mix of cultures, especially, I wasn't expecting it. Like I knew a lot of people at least from Portugal and around Europe would come, but I didn't know it was this many. Because when I got here, we had several different nationalities, and for me that's crazy. It shows how much the college game is like evolving and putting it out there. But yeah, it's a weird process for me because you even like about the game, you come from a place where the game is played totally different, where they have different rules, where there's no balance between school and like competitive soccer. So, and they don't give you time to just adjust sometimes. You have to catch on really quick. And for me, that was the biggest thing. I came here and I was a bit overwhelmed at first. But luckily, I don't say it's luck. I was redshirted because I was injured, but I had more time to just observe before I went into the game and the practices. So that helped me. But yeah, it's a different reality, totally different reality.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's hard coming in the fall. Like I know a lot of the boys who come in the spring internationally tend to develop a bit better because like it's a bit weird that you've got like your main season as the first semester of the school year, and then your off season is the second semester.
Yeah. And
coming in, I remember like I think my first time here. Well, Trindon came in with me. How many days we had before our first game? We had like 5. Something like that. Yeah. And when I came in, we had 5 goalkeepers, all of us brand new. So they had to all of a sudden make a pick between 5 of us who was going to play or not. So that was
5 days is not a big sample size.
No.
Especially when the first couple of days are fitness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're always not looking for it.
Pre-seasons. No.
But when you talked about like coming in and playing the season, like I'm sure you used to as well. I was used to having starting in June or like late June, July, pre-season, like a month, 2 months maybe, of getting ready, getting fit. Like it gives you more time. And here you come and you get like struck with, all right, you have to be able to run this, you have to be able to understand our concepts and all this stuff, so you can go in a game in 3 days and play. That was like,
it's a lot.
That's a lot.
The one thing that's tough with football is that so every team plays a different style, like different like there's different things that coaches are looking for, and like what they want you to do, and it's very hard to come in straight away and meet and understand exactly what they're looking for. Like, you can get the gist of it, kind of, but then there's like the little things, like Larkin says, there's the little things that make the difference, and it's those little things they'll get you at game time on the field, and it's hard to judge what, like, you think you might be doing the right thing, but it's actually not what he wants, and then it's very hard in the first few days to do that. But coming in as international is difficult as well. I know a lot of boys struggle in the first like month or so, just because it's such a big culture shock. You're thrown into it, and then you got, oh damn, I got to start school as well, and you got to do all this stuff. I was alright with it because I was just I kind of just focused on the game and just playing. I was lucky enough to play kind of from the beginning, so I was lucky in that sense where I didn't necessarily worry as much. But it's definitely interesting coming in because you always compare it. Like, I think the rest of the world know a bit more about America because of like social media and like TV shows and all that, and like the movies. It's weird coming in and thinking, oh damn, this is kind of like the movies. It's weird. This is really weird.
Did you watch Oklahoma before you got here?
Bro, I hope not.
No,
I hope not, right?
I didn't. I had no idea what was. To be honest, I had a general idea, but I didn't have no idea of like the place I was coming to.
Yeah.
Obviously, I never heard of Claremore, Oklahoma, in Portugal. Like,
me either.
Like,
I don't think I did, and I live 2 hours from here. I didn't hear about it until a couple of years before I came. So small town.
It was interesting, but we like it here. I like it here.
Yeah,
so.
I like it as well. That's good. Yeah, grows on you.
It does grow on you. It's, obviously you're kind of from a bigger city. Are you guys from bigger cities from where you're from?
No, not big. I'm like suburbs. So,
Suburbs. Yeah. Okay, so like so then you come to, because this is like the outer suburbs. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like on the furthest stretch that you could get for the suburbs of Tulsa. So it does grow on you. Those little small towns, because like of how close the community is and all that kind of stuff, will eventually grow on you. Trindon, for you, from being from Oklahoma and then having all these international, because I was on social media somewhere, and they were talking about, there's somebody from an international country, and they're like, the United States doesn't have passports, or to a lot of people in the United States don't have passports because of how different each state is. Where you guys have passports and you guys are crossing country lines and obviously smaller places, so like our country, is massive, so many different separate states. Where when you're crossing countries, you're kind of different because you gotta go.
I'm a long way away.
You're a long way away from anybody. You're just kind of a little island by itself. But we don't have passports, so we don't have to travel because each state has a different culture. So talk about, for you, having all these different international students coming and playing on a team where you've probably never really had that.
Yeah,
up. What was that like?
My club coach was from England, so that's like the only. England and Mexico were probably the only two that I was familiar with playing club. But yeah, it's actually really fun getting thrown into a team where you have cultures, different nationalities that you've never experienced. Yeah. So I thought it was really cool. You meet people, and you realize you have a lot more in common than what you'd think, being so far apart in such different cultures. So just hanging out with them and finding out like what y'all have in common, sharing your differences, it's actually really fun to do, and you learn a lot about like their country and what they come from and stuff, and I thought it was really cool.
It's pretty cool for me. Obviously I'm from Minnesota, so like we get when Somalian people were like, they had, I don't want to be wrong by it, but they had some type of crisis, an issue there, and they were moving a lot of refugees. So we have a lot of Somali people in Minnesota, and like this dispersed throughout. So when I came here, like, because we didn't have a whole lot of international students at the college that I went to, and now being able to hang out with a lot of different international students and learn different things about you guys, I enjoy it thoroughly. I think it's really, really cool to be surrounded by so many different types of cultures. I think it's a beautiful thing and very unique to Rogers State and what we do here. So kudos to y'all for sure. I do want to, kind of pivot this a little bit off of soccer. You guys talked a little bit about golf and going to a golf simulator. You two are heavily, invested in your golf game. Talk about how playing another sport may help you play your main sport.
I'll let him start. I like to golf. I love it, but I'm not good. So.
No, so for a long time, I was a dual athlete sport. So I played, you guys, Americans might be familiar with the cricket.
Mm-hmm.
So I played that for a long time until I came to America and I had to make that decision. It was very hard at the time to drop that sport and then to come and play football. But I was thinking back, and it's really nice to play another sport because it just takes your mind off of it. It's like Trindon contested, like when we play golf and that, it's like you're starting a sport from the beginning again, and it's real. It's actually kind of nice. You're not too worried about like perfection. You're okay a bit more with like that was good enough. I'll take that. Especially with golf as a sport, I'll take that. That was fine. Hits a tree, comes back. It wasn't a great shot, but it'll work.
Right.
I think in football, especially when you try to play at the highest level you can, you get so worried about like everything has to be perfect. Like we'll play a pass to someone and it'll get there. It'll be a good pass, but I didn't hit that well. Like that wasn't what I tried to do initially. But if it works, it works.
Right. And that's all that matters, And like you mentioned cricket, I've never explained to us about to me about cricket because I don't.
I think I won't explain the rules, but because I think the shortest time to explain all the rules of cricket, I think on YouTube is like an hour long. But essentially,
complex rules.
essentially similar to baseball and stuff. You got a pitcher, you got a batter, except the field is a circle. You can hit it anywhere, and the rule is you got to keep your arms straight and you go over the top, and it's got to bounce.
Gotcha.
And then to get runs, you get a cumulative score similar to that, except it's not getting to home base. It's just you run to the other side. That's one. Yeah. You run to the other side's back. So games can go up to like 300 runs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it takes a similar amount of time.
300 runs.
Yeah, it takes a similar amount, but it's like
who's counting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's the person in charge of counting?
So you got to imagine it's like if you run from home to first base, that's one run. And then you run back, and then that's another run. Yeah. And then if you get a home run, that's 6. Oh. Or if you hit the ball and it goes along the ground. If you hit the ball along the ground and it hits the fence, like after touching the ground, then that's 4 runs, and it's just a cumulative. Wow.
This is why it takes 1 hour on YouTube to explain the rules.
Yeah. That's the basics, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. You see the highlights of cricket, and actually they have. I'm a gamer, big time gamer guy. They have cricket on Game Pass for the Xbox, and I swear there are times I'm like, dude, I want to download this game so bad. Just want to try it for the one time, but you just I can't think of anybody that plays cricket here. There are leagues. There are people that can play a little.
What I found really weird is they have one of the World Cups somewhere in New York, which is
really
yeah, it's really weird.
Would you go?
Yeah, okay, I'd go to that. But cool. It's weird. Yeah, there's different formats for it. So you got like the 3 different types. Which is kind of weird. So it's like
3 different types of what?
Of cricket. So imagine like you play. No.
No, you blew me.
No. So imagine you got a game of softball or baseball that takes 3 innings. Yeah. Pretty much. That's what the shortest version is, which is of cricket. But then you got one that takes a full 7 innings, and then you got another game one that takes. It doesn't have an innings limit. It's got a time limit, which is 5 days. Yeah.
Okay, wait. You're playing that for 5 days?
Could you imagine playing a sport for 5 consecutive?
What's the score go for on that one? 10,000.
Surely up to 1,000.
It's a little complicated, but yeah, we'll get to like 500.
500.
Yeah,
that's
600.
it.
Yeah.
Well, imagine saying how much you win the game. 500.
Well, it's different because it's like in cricket. Once you've got 10 outs, then your team's out. So it's not like.
Is it consecutive? Like, do you go all 10 in a row?
Yes. So you come to bat, and then you got 10. So it's not like you switch. Like in softball, baseball, you switch after 3 every time. It's like 10, then you switch, and then they have their turn to hit it, and that's it.
Interesting.
then that's
How do you get an out?
Huh?
How do you get an out? Like,
catch them.
Catch it.
Catch it.
Do you have to only? Is that the only way?
No, you can catch it, but then they've got like a strike. They've got poles on the ground. You can hit the poles. Then
It breaks the poles, right?
yeah.
So what happens when do you have different sets of poles?
No, it's just the same.
So how do you fix the pole?
No, well, it just knocks them out of the ground. They're fine. Like
Okay.
it's just
Hey man,
No,
I'm
no.
curious. You see the highlights. You see Buddy break the pole, and you're like, okay, well,
What happens now?
I mean,
what happens now?
I mean, it's just like a spike that's stuck in the ground. And
Gotcha.
it just knocks it out the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
In what position did you play?
I was kind of like the catcher. The catcher in softball
Gotcha.
baseball. I was the person who was standing behind. Yeah.
Okay. How important?
That's pretty important
Okay.
because
So
it's
that's why you're playing goalie.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
See, look.
yeah.
Trans-
It's a bit different because if you got like somebody bowls really fast, like you'd stand quite far back. I always found it weird in softball and baseball. If you like tip it and the catcher catches it, it's not the third out, then you're not out. Yeah,
man.
that's like you hit it and they call it. Like why is it not out?
Yeah.
But in cricket, well, that'll happen quite often. Where you get out, they'll nick it, and because the field's a circle and it's always in play, I can try to catch it.
Gotcha.
So,
Very intriguing. Yeah, very, very
You might have to
intriguing.
download the video game.
Yeah, that's right.
Play the 5-day one.
Just sitting in front of me.
We'll set up right here. We'll have a demonstration of how to play cricket. I bet it's super complicated on the controllers. I bet,
Oh,
I
man.
bet the controls are absolutely just
Yeah.
dumb. Just absolutely dumb. So when did you guys pick up golf? Obviously, you said you played soccer and cricket. And when did golf come
I
around?
broke my hand just before COVID playing
Nice.
soccer, but it was nice back home. Our country was locked down, but they had rules where since golf was an individual sport and that when it like kind of opened up again, you go play by yourself. So I kind of played. I used my dad's club previously, but during that I was like, I'll just go play, and I just played the whole time and got really into it, and then
Now here we
that
are.
was it. Yeah, here we are,
Now here we are.
addicted.
I would say my brother played. He started the last like 3 years or something. But in America, it's kind of like if you're a college athlete and you kind of are done playing, you kind of like resort to golf. It's like you like graduate your sport and then move on to golf because golf's like the sport you can play
Forever.
as you get older,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really matter.
I haven't graduated into that.
That's all right. It's not for everyone. But yeah, I started about 2 years ago,
Okay.
a year and a half ago. But it's like I was trying to find a sport I could play once I'm done playing soccer. That physically I could do for a long time. Pickleball could do that. You see some old people playing pickleball
Do
too.
you love the pickleball?
It's fun.
It's not-
It's a lot of fun.
You ever been to Chicken and Pickle?
No. What's
There's
that?
one in OKC. It's like a big pickleball place with a restaurant and a bunch of different. They have
It's like Top Golf for pickleball.
yeah,
Thanksgiving
Interesting.
tradition. Trindon's
Thanksgiving
house.
tradition.
Chicken and pickle.
Interesting.
Alright. Yeah, it's cool. They have like 10 courts.
Oh wow.
Some are indoor, some are outdoor. They have a big restaurant.
They ain't playing around.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
That's genius.
Yeah, no, it probably makes bank
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Those country club
100%.
ladies are over there.
every time.
Getting their Mai Tais.
Every time.
Sarker, do you engage in any other sport beyond soccer?
Not golf, that's for sure.
Hey,
No.
it's not for everyone. As people
No.
have seen, my golf skills not very good. Putting, I can putt.
I'm trying to get into it. I'm horrible, like really, really bad, but I'm just trying to understand it first and trying to get into it. I do want to get into it, but it's weird for me because here, obviously, especially in America, like there's also people during high school play 2 and 3 sports and get into it. In Portugal, you either play soccer or you either play basketball, or you either run. There's not 2 or 3 at the same time. Maybe when you're a kid, but then as you grow and like get to middle school, high school, you focus on one. And I did during high school, played for 2 years. At the same time, I was running track. But apart from that, it's just how I'm used to is just focusing on soccer and how to get better at soccer and focus. Because Here, I don't know, but you guys have a lot of the things that after college, it's basically like you go to work.
Yeah.
And you play college ball, like whatever you play your sport, and then you go to work. As a kid, I was like, I'm gonna be a football player. Like I'm gonna retire when I'm 40, and obviously that's still in the back of my mind a little bit. So that's why I don't engage as much in other sports. I do find it like fun to watch or whatever, but I don't know. I never took the time to just practice and get into it.
I think that was one of the big things I noticed as well coming here. It's like after college, it seems like people are done.
Yeah.
Like I was always thinking like, I was weirded out first how like college football is so massive when you've got literally a professional league afterwards.
Yeah.
But now I'm looking at it, I'm like, it's probably because like people who used to play that sport, as soon as they're done with college, they're done. Like you don't play after that. Like you could be at a super, super high level, but then not make it and then you're just done. Like there's no backup to it really.
You'll never see me put on pads
again.
ever again.
Yeah, which is weird because back home, so many people play right up until they can't walk anymore, like other sports.
Because
like,
there's also like, I feel there's more leagues in the different sports as well. That like even if you're not as good, you get together and you form like a little championship of how many teams and you play, and you keep playing like until as he says you can walk no more, you can run. That's why like I have friends that like 30, 31 and they're not amazing soccer players, but they play in like the third level or the fourth level. There's like so many levels below like the pros and the tops that people just keep playing. And here I find like you play your 4 years in college and then that's it. You had a college career, but that's it.
I mean, there are leagues, like there are community leagues, that league, but like in terms of like making money leagues,
it's different.
It's
back there you make money playing those leagues.
I think you mentioned as well. I think the one thing that's interesting is that you said they play in the third or like the fourth division or something. In America, there's no promotion relegation. Like you can make a team. I think the best example of it is like in England with the system there. They've got Premier League, which most people have heard of. They've got Championship, League 1, League 2. It goes. There's like 10 tiers to it. Your regular men's league that you guys would play would technically still be a part of that tier system.
Yeah.
But they'll just be on the 10th tier down. So if you keep winning and keep
you
doing
can go
well,
up. You
can go
to the
all
pros.
the way up. Like there was a team.
Here it's like it's about like how much money you put in, Because like if you want to go, for example, to the MLS, you need to have money to put the team into the MLS. It's not like you can you like.
No, it's pretty much you kind of have to have a big enough, like big money, big stadium, enough money to make it to be like a big club and make it to the MLS. You can't work.
It was weird as well, like in the recruiting thing, like talking about D1, D2, NAIA, and that kind of stuff. Because I mean, if you don't know anything about it, you just assume, if you win D2, I'll just go up to D1, like the school wise, and that. But the one thing, especially like when we play our spring games, we'll play a lot of very, very good D1 teams. We're not that far off them.
No.
At all.
Some of them were not.
It's weird to think like I'd wager say would beat a good amount of D1 teams.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird thing. Like coming and recruiting and that, you think, I want to go to these big D1 schools, but like a D2 school could be better.
Just as good.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of people put like we're so overlooked at the D2 level. If you're good at the D2 level, you're beating, let's say 50%, the back half of Division I schools, because there's something wrong with their culture or something, scheme or something's wrong. You can out scheme them. Now the thing is, the Division I is really all about how big you are, how fast you are, things that we really like God, I played DN. I wasn't 6'4", 250, and I wasn't running a 4.640. So like I'm not. If I stand up, I'm about the same height as you. So, so like that, it puts you at a disadvantage, and that's why those big schools don't recruit you. But like mentality wise, heart wise, like I don't care how big you are. You could be 6'5", 330. I'm just gonna have to go through you. Here's the guy in front of me, and that's probably the same thing for you guys. I'm sure, like, I don't want to act like I know my soccer terminology, through the roof or anything, but striker, question mark. Yeah, okay. Question. Woo! There's 6'4", taller, guys. They probably are just bigger people than what we have here. Would that be a fair assessment?
Yeah. I think the main thing with soccer and how like a JUCO could beat a D1, didn't Cali? Cali's a JUCO, and they beat D1 schools last year, and they're a JUCO. I think the biggest thing with soccer is that it's so there's so many internationals, so you could find just a random international kid from anywhere, and they could be like insane, but they wouldn't know that because they don't see him play.
Right.
So it really, the level just.
I think that's a really good point about the difference between D1 and the rest. The one thing I've noticed, there seems to be a lot more internationals in D2 than there is in D1.
Regulations.
They can only sign
They can
X
have so
amount.
many.
It's also like the internationals that they have there. It's very hard to just watch a video of someone think, right, I want this person to be in my team, and so many coaches value looking at someone. Like I've talked to some coaches around and they've said, like, I've heard they'll, because you're like a big D1, typically you got the pick of who you want in your state.
Yeah.
So it's a lot cheaper to give someone a full ride if they're in state. So they'll typically find, like the big D1s that will find the best players in the state to go there because they're able to give them a full ride. Whereas like you think about international student, like international fees at the big D1s and that. I remember one school when I was doing recruiting was like 90 grand or something like that. So to give an international full ride there, good.
That's only part. That's just to go there.
Yeah.
You gotta get them.
Yeah. So to get a full ride there, you'll pay 90 grand in their scholarship fees, where you could be giving, I don't know, like 3-4 players in-state full rides.
Yeah.
So I think D1s typically tend to favour a lot of in-state people. So I think a lot of D2 teams, and especially teams like we played Wesley in NAIA, and they've got a lot of internationals in their team. It's honestly, it's not that far off at all. Like the top teams are pretty close.
Yeah. Interesting. No, it's really intriguing because you just never I would never experience that because we didn't play up. We never played a Division I team at all. So it's kind of cool that you guys had the opportunity to play the Division I teams and kind of read them out. Like women's soccer just beat OU in a spring game.
I think that's what's good about the spring, is that you are allowed to play who you want.
Exactly.
Which is quite good.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably won't get invited back, but we can say that we did it now. So that's such a cool thing. I do want to talk about kind of what you guys. We always talk. We always struggle because we were football's in the fall, so we always think during the summer in trend. What do you guys do during your summers? Because obviously, like you said, when you guys get back, it is go time basically. So what is that summer training like for you guys?
There's a decent amount of us. They have a semi-pro league that a lot of us play on over the summer. I know he's playing for the Athletics, which is a Tulsa team. I play on a semi-pro team in OKC. So it's pretty much like a whole nother team, whole nother league. So we practice 5 days a week, games on the weekends. We're in the same league, so
We see each other.
yeah. So my summer, not everyone plays semi-pro during the summer, but the ones that do, you're practicing every day, you're playing games, and then when you're not practicing, you're probably doing fitness on your own.
Yeah.
Just because they expect us to be in shape, fit, ready to play, just because we start right away. So a lot of it, you're just having to do yourself and get ready for a season.
Yeah, I mean, I played last year as well for the summer team. But for me, I've always seen that my summer has got to be balanced. I need time to relax and do my stuff and not even think about soccer. And because I played for 2 or 3 months, for 2 months from May, June, and then I kind of felt like before I came, I needed a break. I'll still run, I'll still do my stuff because I like to be in shape, but there's always got to be at least a couple of weeks where my mind is not even thinking. It's after we went for winter break, and after all the like hard season and stuff, I didn't even think about soccer during the whole break. I just wanted to zone out and just kind of reset and think about stuff that I wanted to do and whatever. Because then, like after the summer now, it's gonna come fall again, and it's gonna be hard pressure again. It's gonna be all this stuff, and if we're not properly like recovered from all of that was gone, then I think at least for me, it takes a toll, and I'm not at my best.
Right.
So I've always felt that I need a balance, or where like I train and I keep in shape, but I also like just relax and
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, most internationals, if they go home, they'll just play for their teams back home and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of us are staying here this summer.
Okay.
doing that.
No, it's cool. Like it's kind of cool that you guys can get to go home and play international. So do you play on like a pro team at home? Or?
No. Last year I played here.
You played here.
I stayed here.
Okay.
Yeah, I stayed here in the same league that they're playing this year.
Yeah.
Another team in Missouri, and yeah.
What is one of your biggest moments from favorite moments from this year, playing wise?
Probably the Colorado trip was fun. We got to fly to Colorado. That was the first time flying to a game. A lot of people first time going to Colorado. Mountains were cool. We went to I forgot what it was called, but we went on some
Garden of the Gods.
Yeah.
Garden of the Gods. We got to see a bunch of different stuff, and it was a really cool trip.
And the Air Force are playing their football game.
Oh, yeah.
Same hotel.
Yeah, so we got to see like cool flyovers and all that stuff. But that was probably the highlight of the year for me, just because it was such a fun trip.
And I think it also set us up for what we did after like in season, because it was such a nice trip to just connect to teammates and like see other stuff together and create memories, and it created such a nice environment that it just carried us over to the season, and that led to us going to the championship. So
yeah, it was definitely the coolest trip of the season for sure.
Definitely the highlight.
yeah, and
Soccer-wise, it was probably...
Yeah, if you're talking about moments like on the pitch, and there's like semifinals against Fort Hays when we won double overtime, or we have the game against Oklahoma Christian where we got the late game winner by Marcos. There's like those very cool moments. Yeah.
Question for you, Declan. Obviously, when you get those penalty kicks or you it's overtime and they're getting free kicks at you, what's going through your head during those moments?
Oddly enough, you feel a bit of pressure, but you take comfort in the fact knowing that there's more pressure on the person taking the penalty, because like you're not expected to save it; they're expected to score. So it's kind of a nice feeling thing. It's almost like if I save this, then it's just a bonus.
Right.
But no, it's penalties. People can talk for days about it. There's so mind games to it, and that. Like people overcomplicate it and that, but
he knows he's a cheater on penalties.
We cheater.
Yes, because we practice penalties during practice and stuff, and he knows obviously where we all normally kick the ball.
Yeah.
So he's already diving to that place
But
before we kick the ball.
Well.
No, you don't.
I would.
No, you don't know where the other person is kicking.
I would.
He said he was watching
That's
film.
right.
He's studying.
Yeah. So now I'm just gonna start kicking into the middle, and then you're gonna dive.
No, you see, what I do in a game is
Now he knows the plan.
I do in the game. What I do is unless obviously Australia is to kick it down the middle if you think the keeper's going to dive, but I think in a game it's a very ballsy thing to do to ding down the middle, and I think if someone's not feeling confident, they're not going to do it. So if I look at someone, I think he does not look confident, I instantly know he's going to pick a corner. And then it's just a matter of getting the right way.
Sometimes we do have film on it.
Yeah, and
sometimes
diving, and then just diving as far as you can, because it's such a big area to cover from right there.
Oh my gosh! I was at an intramural game and somebody was kicking. I went in there like I'm gonna kick a free kick again. I was like, all right, cool. I got in there. I was like,
yeah,
hold up now. This is a lot of, and you and Tiff make it look easy. Being able to stretch and go so far and all that kind of stuff, and I mean it's impressive for people who are taking the penalty kick. What are you going through your guys' head? On the flip side?
I mean, I have one way that I go every single time, so it kind of makes me.
Yeah,
he knows which way I go. It helps because it's like, all right, I'm doing this, and I mean repetitions from practice. It helps. You can't recreate the pressure that you'd feel if it was a conference semifinal or final. I mean, that's just something you can't replicate. So just trust in just what you've been doing in practice. It helps. But yeah, it's definitely nerve-wracking. Yeah, definitely.
I can only imagine, like, everybody's just looking at you like,
I mean,
you're statistically supposed to make this kick.
yeah.
I think it's like an 80+% chance.
Something like
and I
that.
think even if the keeper goes the right way, I think it's still like a 70% chance of it going in.
And it's the moment's like all eyes are on you. Like there's not anything else going on but that. So even
See,
more
that's
pressure
why
to
for
you.
me, I know what I'm good at, and I don't take penalty kicks. I was like,
How does that work? How do
No.
they, like,
yeah,
how do you decide?
because obviously, like, I think it's all about who's feeling confident in themselves and
It's all
wants to
about
take.
confidence.
Because if you may be like a great penalty taker, but like if you're not confident on that moment, don't take it. Like let someone else that wants that responsibility do it. And that's why I just step behind and you can pull me out of the game if you want.
Most of the questions is during it, like, well, towards the end of the season, we kind of start doing practices, like who's doing it, and obviously you can kind of tell who's good at penalties and who's not.
Right.
And then it's more so in the moment, like, who's feeling confident. Like, that will be the question that gets asked, like, how are we feeling? Like, and thankfully we haven't had to do a penalty shootout yet for us here. But I know in other teams that the coach will always ask, put your hand up if you want to take a penalty. And then you put your hand up, and it's,
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was the week before, like the semifinals.
Yeah.
Coach was like, raise your hand if you want to take one. If not, that's fine. Like, just don't raise your hand. And then we would take them, and then he'd put us in what order we would take them if it came to it, and that was that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who's the best penalty kicker that you've played with?
Eric is a good one.
Eric's good.
Because stop bins everything.
Deck.
yeah.
You take
He's
penalty
a
kicks?
rocket.
Like, yeah. Well, I just aim somewhere in that direction and just hit it.
He aims to the right and hits it as hard as he possibly can. And sometimes it's way off. But
Yeah,
not
right.
all the time.
If
Hey,
he
If he
goes on goal, if he hits the target, it's probably going to be a goal. But
It's weird. I think, like, facing a penalty, obviously, like, I always think if someone hits it hard enough in the corner, you're not saving it. So I just take my pins like that. I just think I'm just gonna aim there and just hit it. And
and he hits it hard.
Last question. Who is, like, one of the best players you've ever played with, whether at RSU, pickup game, semi-pro? Who's the best player that you've ever seen play or played with?
I mean, I myself coming from like international, like from Portugal, I play with a couple players that are like top level, like Premier League or like going to play World Cups and stuff. I had my share of players that I was fortunate enough to play with them. Here, I mean, we had Luke Morgan last year. It's like different characteristics make different players. So Morgan was great with the ball, like one of the best I've seen. But then you had people like GK that like are such good leaders on the field, and you take so much from them. You had people like Marcos now, who's one of the best strikers I've played with. So yeah, it's a lot.
yeah. I was in the wider squad for the under-17 World Cup for New Zealand.
Wow.
So there's a few boys I know from that who are at like pro level, like playing Champions League and that. So it's really cool to see them on TV and that. But the best player, I think he was at Copenhagen last season. But I can't remember where he is now. But his name's Marko Stamisic, and it's just playing. They just make it look easy. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Like they just get it, and it's like it seems like they've got all the time in the world. Like you're sprinting, like it's not.
You're
fair.
moving fast.
Yeah.
But they're moving
Faster.
faster.
Yeah,
You're
like-
just like what?
Like stuff that he played as like a midfielder or as like a centre back, and people would run at him. He just wouldn't care. He would just someone's running at me, just okay, I'll just walk forward and then run behind them or something like that. It's not like you see people like you think people are good in that, and like they will be, but then you don't realize how good those people are when you get to the top, and like stuff that would like in the game for you would be like, oh, this would worry me, but they just don't care. They just okay, and then just. And
it's even about like technique, because sometimes we mess around and do like keepy ups or long passes or touches or whatever, and for us, we're good. But if you look at those players and how easy they make it look, like people, like players can keep the ball up for like hours and stuff, or like make great touches during games or whatever, and it's crazy to see them do it because it seems so easy. But when you go actually do it, you realize how hard
it is.
It's always, I'm sure you can attest, like watching a game live. Like it's different watching on TV to watching on live, and like you watch those players play live, and you see the ball come to them. Especially as someone who's played the sport, you just think that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Whereas on TV, you think, oh, okay, he should have done that.
Right.
Like film's always harsh.
Yeah.
I remember watching film. Like, you watch film and that, and it always looks worse than it actually is.
Gosh.
Tell me about it. Film never lies. No, look, you cameras are evil.
Film sucks.
Yeah.
It does.
Film does suck.
Who's your?
Best player. So my brother, when I was growing up, I'd practice with his team sometimes, and one of his teammates, he went to University of Virginia, then got drafted to the MLS, and then got to move to England. So he's playing second division England. So I got to practice with him a couple times and play against him in high school. So I'd say that's probably the best player I've played with and against.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
I mean, it's so cool to be able to like see, like you see guys that you play with like on TV. You're like, oh, what? I remember when he was just a squirt. I beat him that one time. You know what I'm saying?
It makes you realize it too. Like, oh, I didn't make it. So
that too.
Sometimes it's bad to think where like you see something you didn't think was that good, and then they're like, how is he there? Like,
that happens too. Like,
Yeah.
I can think about like probably from high school played against probably like 4 or 5 guys who are in the league now. You're like, that guy wasn't that good. I remember walking Buddy off the line of scrimmage, like, and now here he is making millions of dollars, and here I am, and Claremore will go. I know it's good, but I'm having a great time. But it just, you're happy for them, and watch them, walk their path and have their success. But you guys are having, such success yourself, being able to play here and go to school here, finishing up here very quickly. So, but I appreciate you guys, joining me on the show today, and I appreciate getting to know you guys a little bit better. But for another edition of Voices on the Hill, for Trindon, Artur, and Declan, we thank you guys for watching.